In Hogwarts Legacy, my favorite thing to do is fly around. I love the different environments. I loved running into a dragon at sunset one time when I was out flying. I love running into these various magical creatures and getting to do quests all over the map. Actually, on my first playthrough, because I am who I am, I made it very far away from Hogwarts in no time at all. And I had the whole map discovered before I really got into the main quest at all. Because that's what I do. And I really did enjoy finding money everywhere. That was very nice. And I love some of the ambient music, especially when you're flying around. When I actually reread the Harry Potter series and was trying to kind of understand why it creates it evokes a certain feeling for most people. And I feel like whatever that was, there were a lot of things about Hogwarts Legacy that played off of that and invoked the same feeling. Invoked. I remember like when she's talking about autumn, it dawns crisp and golden as an apple, and then bullets of rain, like, what was it? Thudded on the windows. There's another descriptor of Hogsmeade looks like a Christmas card. And so, if you're actually reading through it, there's so many things that give the feeling, but it's definitely not written out explicitly. And what I like about also Hogwarts Legacy is I feel like it did a lot of that same thing, where it gives you an environment to play in and do a lot of things with without necessarily forcing you into just a very flat storyline or a very flat anything. I certainly have favorite quests and unfavorite quests. Now I have to say this because I can't rest if I don't say this. I'm tired of finding bodies. Okay, so first of all, I wasn't going to hurt anyone in the game. I wasn't going to do anything like that. And then they decided to kidnap the hippogriffs and the baby dragon. And I was done. And I went around the map taking care of everyone. I am the Dark Lord, okay? And we should all just accept that now. But if you're nice to the animals, I'll probably leave you alone. Now, what was interesting about all of that is that when I say that I'm tired of finding bodies, I'm not talking about the ones that I put there on purpose. I'm talking about the ones where I'm going to find the house elf. If you haven't done this yet, stop listening right now. But finding his body, finding him deceased, I cannot. Do you have any idea what that feels like in real life? I don't want that in my games that I am playing for fun. Like, having it happen maybe once or twice in the course of an entire game is one thing. Because like I said, a body I put there for good reason. You know, if I went after someone like that, being a Slytherin and a Scorpio, you can rest assured that they deserve to be where they are, where I put them. But in terms of the innocent house elf and a couple other of the deaths that happened in the course of the storyline, it did not sit well. It was not okay with me. And then I finished the entire storyline and I sit there and I'm like, I hate this. I like flying around. I like being at Hogwarts. I wanted more of the classes. I wanted more time with my friends. I wanted somewhat of a different experience. And that's okay, but at the end of the day, when I finished the game, I sat there and I was like, I'm not happy. I don't feel satisfied by this ending. I don't feel okay with this. I feel really not okay because multiple story points for me personally didn't feel answered, as well as just not having the experience I wanted with a few of the friends in the stories or a few other things. You know, you get to endgame and then it's done, obviously, but you just don't feel satisfied. And I feel like that's what makes the difference. If you finish a game and the storylines are answered or there's grounds for a sequel, you feel okay. But this did not feel okay. And I've said that probably 5 times. It's because I'm having trouble communicating my point. I'm sorry. So, in the other Harry Potter games, Prisoner of Azkaban and Chamber of Secrets specifically, Chamber of Secrets had a lot of little puzzles and mini games and secrets. I remember Spongify was a very fun spell to learn and to use in different puzzles. In the third Prisoner of Azkaban, I really enjoyed Lap of Force because I got to turn something into a rabbit, and then I got to be a rabbit and go around and chew on things. And that, to me, was just... I loved it. I had a lot of fun with it. It was interesting. When someone's asking me to find their friend that's been missing and I just go find a corpse, it doesn't make me happy. It's not rewarding to me at all. I can't tell you at all that that's rewarding. As I said before, the only bodies I want to see are the ones that I put there. And the only ones that I put there are the ones that were messing around with the Dark Lord. Okay? Being me. Anyway, unfinished questions, unfinished storylines. So there was that student that we meet who's obsessed with mer people. We never get to see what happens. Does she learn to swim? Does she get to make friends with the mer people? Does she become the mer person ambassador? I don't know. You don't know. No one knows. Because it's not finished. So, like, what's rewarding about that? I just opened a storyline and I never got to find out what happened. Eeks. And then, of course, there's the whole Sebastian Sallow thing. I have a take. I do. I have a take. They're so mad at the Slytherins, and they're so mad about the dark arts, but the way that they're presented in the book, it's stuff like the Cruciatus Curse, Avada Kedavra, and Imperio. Bat Bogey Hex. They're hexes and curses that are not considered dark magic, but are arguably very harmful. What was it? Sectum Sempra? That's one Snape came up with. That was dark magic. Or at least we would think so. But it's not clearly defined. So you could say, oh, how terrible that you were out there getting rid of all those goblins. Well, first of all, they shouldn't have been threatening my puffskeins. And second of all, I am not above an unforgivable curse. Especially considering that you don't have to be a bad guy to do it. Because there's so many other spells and so many other curses that I would argue are equally as harmful or could do quite as much harm as that. Like Hermione, for instance. Do we really want to go here? Yes, we do. She modified her parents' memories and dropped them off somewhere in the world so no one could find them. Yes, she did it to protect them, but can you imagine having your memory modified and your entire life and your children erased without your consent? That sounds pretty wrong to me. It's like, you all want to make me be evil, and I think you're projecting. I truly do think that you're projecting. Back to Hogwarts Legacy, though. It was really hard. Well, Sebastian Sallow's storyline was really interesting because there were a lot of points where it felt like you should be able to make a decision that would change the outcome. With a lot of these multiple choice questions in games, you want to feel like you're making an impact on the storyline. And with Sebastian Sallow, you really don't. You either get to learn the unforgivable curses or you don't. And obviously I chose to learn them because I have unicorns in my backyard and no one will be touching them. And, but yeah, like, I had my reasons. Why would I not choose to learn that? Riddle me that. Why would I not want to know? But with Sebastian especially, there were so many times where you would feel like you get these different answers and you feel like if you gave him a certain answer, it should change what he does next. And it doesn't, because the storylines don't work that way in this game. Which I think is another thing that adds to that feeling that I had of being unsatisfied with some of the quests and storylines because my actions didn't matter and the dialogue that I had with the characters didn't have any impact. It didn't increase friendship. It didn't have any benefit. It just was just getting to press a button. Because again, it didn't have any impact on the storyline or the events that happened. There were so many times when I felt like, especially Sebastian, could have been directed a different direction. Because he had Ominous trying to help him, and he had his sister on his side, and he has us on his side. And, I should have been able to say, your uncle's a twat. And I need you you can still work on helping your sister, but you should pay attention to your schoolwork and don't do anything stupid or illegal. There you go. Like, here, I'm your voice of reason, and I say, you can continue to help your sister, but you know what you should really get into? Studying medicine. Of course, they said they tried everything. But also, that's kind of a sunken cost fallacy. It would make anyone desperate enough to do probably anything. But at the same point, if you could do something to make Sebastian feel like he had a purpose or an impact, or that he was able to make a meaningful difference to Anne in some way, it would move him along the path to acceptance. Which is definitely not what happened. So all in all, the positives. I love the magical creatures. I love the classes that I got to attend. I enjoyed a few of the quests, and the castle and the design is gorgeous. And the open world is gorgeous. So that's all very well done. I enjoyed that very much. In terms of the problems that I had, first, none of my in-game decisions are of any consequence. And nothing changes the gameplay, which feels fundamentally really dissatisfying. Secondly, the amount of death and loss in the game, it's difficult to cope with. And it just made gameplay not pleasant for a lot of it. I was especially disturbed by the poltergeist incident that happened. To me, that wasn't acceptable. But at the same point, I'm more sensitive anyway. Not everybody is. But there was just so much of it in the game that someone like me who is sensitive to it is going to have a lot of not fun parts of gameplay to get through. And if someone asks you to find your friend, you're most likely to find him dead, which is also just really, really depressing. Third thing is that there's a lot of experiences from the wizarding world, from the books and the movies and the other games that I enjoy, that I would have loved to see in this game, and they weren't there. In terms of Quidditch, in terms of having a butterbeer with friends, in terms of holidays and seasonal decorations. They mention multiple times in the books that Hogwarts is done up for the holidays. Like, really done up. And I just didn't get that feeling from Hogwarts Legacy because the gameplay seasons go by your quest progression, not by a seasonal progression. To close all of this, I'm not monetized at this time, so if you got through all of this and you'd like to do someone a good turn today, I highly recommend donating to nonprofits such as the Trevor Project, who, especially over the holidays, have a really high volume of people that need help. So please consider donating to them and not to me, and I really appreciate your time. Thanks. Bye.